What is going on, you wankers? We are here with another episode of Evan Ranks, my newest podcast, going for a wide range of topics here. I'm going to have Ollie, make a guest appearance here. Thank you, Ollie. Is my mic working okay, bud? Yeah. So we are not ranking Ollie the cat today, but we are, in fact, doing one of my and apparently a lot of our viewers' personal favorite ranking here. This is going to be the first one I unveil for one of the 1 to 5 rankings. So 5 being the worst, 1 being the best. There's a lot of different components here, so I'm trying to get into it quickly without having a crazy intro here. Just saying essentially what I always say. I've gotten some feedback here that I do provide a little bit too much fluff for verbiage. I'm trying to fix that here. I know I do it a lot just to kind of make the pod go by a little bit quicker, add some extra content here and there. But let's jump right into it. Evan ranks bourbon. Yeah, this is a fun one. It is currently 4 o'clock. I technically have an hour of work, so I got my phone here handy. We got the video pulled up so y'all can sort of see the bottles and all the fun that goes into it, along with the audio, of course. So jumping right in, because there's a lot of moving parts, I'm going with the one that I'm going to assume is the worst here. I've done it on Evan Ranks Beers, which is my Snapchat version. This is kind of where it all started. But number 1. We have the St. Augustine Distillery Florida Straight Bourbon. This was actually a sentimental gift from my fiance's brother. It was, in fact, the first gift I received from him. Of course, it was alcohol. Knowing me, he did a great job. As you can see, I have drank parts of it. This was a gift from last Christmas, so it has taken me a while to get there. Bottle-wise, it's the perfect size if you're a functioning alcoholic to just drink it straight out the bottle. I myself have a bunch of shot glasses here to sort of go inside with it. So I'm going to pour myself a little bit here. Just enough to taste it. So smell-wise, smells like straight bourbon. I got some facts here written down about a couple of different ones. So this distillery actually was created in 1917. I did not see too many facts on it. I guess it's a little bit of a more recent one, even though that's friggin' 100 plus years ago. But let's pull up here some of the flavor notes that it has. So it's supposed to be a deep and complex bourbon. It's kind of throwing me off here a little bit just looking at it, being that I'm going to have to take 5 of these shots. But it's supposed to have some stone fruit, a little bit of a marshmallow smell. Taste-wise, it'll give you a Brazilian nut or caramel, some smooth and creamy is what this says it's supposed to taste like. I've tasted it. It definitely does not taste like that. But smell-wise, I can kind of smell that marshmallow-ish flavor. I guess like the sweeter flavor. I'm going to give it a taste here. Everything that I just described, throw it out the fucking window. It tastes absolutely nothing like that. Like I said, I've had it a handful of times. It's one of my sort of go-tos, I guess, if I get off work and I'm stressed or angry. I go to this bourbon here. Okay. All right. The aftertaste kind of gives me that sweeter caramel taste. I think bourbon's honestly what you make of it. If you just drink it to get drunk, you do that. Like if I drink it, it's more or less to drink it straight. Like, yeah, I do like the harsh or bitter taste of bourbon. But once you read about it, you actually taste it, you smell it. I feel like a lot of those flavors and notes that you're supposed to smell or taste come through a lot more. So we got that one first off. I'm going to rank it 1 to 10 first and then rank all 5 together. Ranking wise, actually, let's keep that to myself. I don't need y'all to know about that because that'll kind of give away where I'm putting things as I go. So, personal, I'm going to write it down, and we're going to move on to the next one. Okay. We got a bunch of different choices here. That was, like I said, provided as a gift in years past. I have had the thoughtful Mitch DePoy, who is a proud listener now. He is an official wanker of the pod. Donate some bourbon for this tasting. Hell of a guy, actually. He kind of gave me this idea. along with a handful of others. My coworker from work is a big bourbon guy, and they were kind of egging me on to do it. I'd asked Mitch if he wanted to be on the podcast. As you can see, I have not had my first guest other than Ollie. But yeah, let's keep it rolling here. A lot of different bourbons here that I want to talk about. Like I said, bottle, presentation, taste, smell, all of that fun stuff. We're going to go to Angel's Envy. Yeah, kind of looks like a little D-bag with his necklace, right? I mean, this is definitely not frat boy bourbon. I know that for a fact. But yeah, so it's got little angel wings necklace. That's pretty cool. It's got angel wings on the back. It's a pretty full bottle, which makes me think that Mitch DuPois has not drank too much of it. It is, in fact, a Kentucky bourbon. It's a more recent adventure find. I guess the distillery itself became a full production distillery in 2016. It was founded, created, aged, if you will, back in 2011. So it's a little bit of a newer aged bourbon. So I'm honestly really excited to try this one. It is Angel's Envy. It is actually the private selection Angel's Envy. So let's pop this thing open here. Give it a little pour daddy up in there. You can see the little necklace like dangling when you pour it. All right, just enough to taste it. So what we are essentially supposed to be tasting here is, let me see here. It's supposed to be, ew, I hate raisins. It's a smell of raisins. Subtle vanilla, I can kind of do that. And then maple syrup and toasted nuts is what I'm supposed to be smelling here. I just kind of low-key like put that in my nose. That's okay. It's supposed to taste like fruit, maple syrup, some chocolate here, and vanilla as well. Let me give you that little taste test here. Okay. Two very different tastes right there. This one was a little bit more, I don't want to say bitter, but it's got a more bourbony taste to it as opposed to that other one that was a little bit sweeter over there. Put this in the graveyard over here. Okay. Taste wise, I'm kind of getting that nutty flavor a little bit. Try to pull this back up here to see what I was supposed to be tasting. Definitely no maple syrup taste involved. It says you're supposed to get some sweetness. I am tasting that sweetness now. I think the finish is everything with a bourbon, honestly. You could drink them all the time and not taste any different, except for that little like 20 seconds after it's gone down the gullet. Pretty good bourbon. I do like that a lot. I could see myself buying it. I can't get over this little necklace that it has. But yeah, that's definitely a good bourbon. Might make me change my ranking on the first one. But let's keep the ball rolling, man. I might be fucking buzzed at the end of this drinking all this bourbon. I got a special treat for you all with one of these. But we're going to move on here to apparently what is called the father of bourbon, Elijah Craig. I have had different versions of this. This is as you guessed it, when it was created, 1789. This is one of the oldest bourbons, hence the nickname of father of bourbon. The Bourbon Father. I like that more. We could do that. The Bourbon Father. Yeah, so we're going to move on over here. It was some stats here, because we love the history behind things. It was actually the first bourbon whiskey distillery to use, what is this? What does it say? Charred oak barrels. Sorry, it's easier when you don't have the video because you can't see me looking at my notes, but it is the first distillery to use charred oak barrels for their aging process. Let's see here. Let's use this shot glass that I stole from the whiskey jar as we're tasting bourbon. What are the odds? All right. Bottle, I mean, that's pretty nifty. I like the little nipple on the top. This is, like I said, the private barrel, so a little bit of the higher end stuff. You can't go wrong with Elijah Craig, honestly. I feel funny doing this review because I have had it so many times. But like I said, it is a very good, popular bourbon. I'm going to see if I can't pull up some notes here for the barrel proof or private barrel. Unique proof and batch number. So this is different, I guess, than most of the other bourbons they make. I don't have too much good information on it. So I'm going to smell it, taste it, and let you know what I smell and taste and think about it. Okay, subtle. It smells a little similar to that Angel's Envy. So I'm looking to maybe have a sweeter finish. Palate wise, I think it's just going to be sort of that regular nutty bourbon. Love that word, nutty bourbon. But yeah, let's give it a little sip here. Whew. Now that is a real fucking bourbon. If you don't get a little hair on your chest when you drink it, I feel like you're not drinking the right bourbons. Supposed to, this beard that you see here, the only reason I have a thick beard like that is because I drank bourbon. I swear to God. This is tough, man. This is one of my favorites, but Mitch donated a handful of bourbons that I've never had before. Like that Angel's Envy I haven't had. This third bourbon that's hiding in the corner I'd never had. The St. Augustine one I had never had before getting it gifted to me. I think I'm trying it in a different light so it tastes different, if that makes any sense. It's like a placebo effect. Let's go for round 2 here. Got to swirl it around. See the legs of it is what they call in the wine industry. Before I take this last sip, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, or caveat, if you will. I feel like bourbon and wine tastings are somewhat similar. It's a bit of a, what's it called? A fluent sort of activity. You don't just drink it to get drunk. You actually drink it to taste. Sophisticated. There you go. A fluent and sophisticated activity. But I remember I went to Coastal Carolina University for a New Year's thing, and we ended up doing a wine tasting. It was called Dublin Winery. And essentially you sit at a bar that's basically like Sakura. So you have like I'm the bartender here, and then there's seats that go all the way around. And I walk around, I give you it was 8 different wines that you taste, and he talks about them. He's like your sommelier, if you will. He discusses the notes of it. And I can just distinctly remember him sitting there going, "You see the legs of it, Charlie? You see the legs?" I'm like, I don't fucking see any legs, but yeah, sure. I see the legs now. So there's my caveat of the day going off of it. But last little taste test here, just to remember what the great Elijah Craig tastes like. That was really sweet. Let me grab my water. I probably should be drinking water in between these. That's what I was supposed to do in that wine tasting. Something else I learned that I probably wouldn't have if I didn't do that. But you're supposed to drink water after any time you're doing a tasting, so it cleanses your palate. But there was the Elijah Craig. So we're sitting at 3 bourbons. We're sitting at 3 bourbons at 13 minutes. Gives me ample time to get to the next ones. Honestly, personal favorite bottle here. It gives you a little case to carry it in. So let's bring this thing out. It is Blanton's. If you can't tell, there's a little horse on top. Golly, Ned, I wish I did better research on this. I figured I'd have plenty of time just to talk about things instead of getting into the history of them, because honestly, y'all much rather see me get drunk drinking some bourbon than me to talk about how long they've been around. 1984 has been how long it was. Apparently, this brand / distillery, what they would do, as our little fun fact for Blanton's, is when any sort of higher power came to town, they would bust out their honey barrels for these individuals to try. Prime Minister, President, Putin, I don't know. Whoever came into town rolling in, they'd bust out the honey barrels. But I've actually never had Blanton's. I've always seen the bottle. My mom was always a big horse person. She loves a Triple Crown. Seeing that on there whenever I go into a bar, I'm like, that's the bourbon I want and need. I've never drank it. So I had my little swig of water here. I am going to, I don't know how to properly do this without busting off the horse, so we're going to do it real carefully. But just to show you, I mean, look at the attention to detail. My God, great bottle here. Similar to the Elijah Craig with that little nipple finish of the bottle. I think that might be a pretty popular thing. I do really like this. You call it a bottle, but it's more or less like a vase. I would put flowers in this shit, honestly. Let me drink this all and give Emma Rose some flowers. Shout out Emma Rose, who's a true listener to the podcast. I like to do shout outs periodically as well. Her name just kind of came up, but yeah, shout out Emma Rose for allowing me to get fucked up on the podcast before she gets home and I have to make some dinner. She's working day shift today, so it's all sorts of hectic. But back to the pot, which is most important here. Sorry, wankers. Blanton's. All right, bit of a stronger smell there. It's subtle but stronger. So it's supposed to smell a little bit like vanilla. I can get that. And palate-wise, it's supposed to taste like citrus and oak. Okay. Like I said, I can smell that little vanilla taste to it. I'm a little nervous that this is going to blow my fucking socks off and taste better than all of them. Yeah. That might just be the smoothest tasting bourbon I have ever had in my entire life. That is fucking good. I can literally taste exactly what I read, too. Like the citrus, the oak, it being aged. I mean, it's going to be a tough one. We got one more left, but that honestly right now is, I'll spill the beans, the front runner. From the bottle itself, the decor on top, to even the little carrying case they make so difficult to put back in. Golly, net, that was a freaking good one. Oh my gosh. I'm just taking some notes here so I remember them. All right, last but not least is our guest of the day. It's not a human. It's just another one of these bottles of bourbon. You've probably seen me drinking it out the bottle here recently before. That's exactly what I'm going to do again because I have run out of shot glasses. Get a little taste of water. These two sips have been the first sips of water I have had the entire day. I haven't eaten. I haven't had any water. And the first thing I did when I went home was ask Mitch if I could get some bourbon for the pot so y'all can see the dedication and providing content for you lovely individuals. So, let me just double check that. I mean, it says bourbon on the bottle. It literally says bourbon on the bottle. I don't know if I can, disregard that and not face the criticism I'm going to face when I bust it out. But Evan Williams Eggnog. Yeah. Holiday edition. We're here in Christmas. You see my little background here with this mirror. So I didn't pull any stats up because Evan Williams is the brand itself, not eggnog. There's more about Evan Williams than there is the eggnog. I don't even know when this was released. All that it tells you, though, to do is shake well, refrigerate after opening, and that it does contain milk and eggs. So if you're allergic to milk or eggs, you're lactose intolerant, this is not the bourbon for you. If you hate eggnog, this is not the bourbon for you. I personally have never tasted eggnog outside of Evan Williams eggnog, but this stuff is absolutely divine, man. I could have a glass of this a day. I don't think it's the holidays until you have Evan Williams eggnog. I feel a little wrong throwing this into the pod. I might grab, let's see here, what's in this little, I don't see any, I see some Evan Williams, but it's flavored. That's some trash. Real bourbon is not flavored like that. As much as I love Jack Honey, that's not real whiskey. Jack Daniels is real whiskey. The honey is just sort of it's more syrup than anything else. This might go for the same here, but just for the point of it, in the holiday season, pip pip cheerio, Evan Williams eggnog. I'm going to drink this shit straight from the bottle. Little chug, just see I got a little milk mustache, I'm not going to say that on the pod. All of y'all watching the video, you know what I was about to say. Bottle, it's bland. It's not real bourbon, so why waste the money on a nice bottle? That literally tastes like, I don't want to say a vanilla milkshake, but when you put it in the fridge, I've already opened it, but when you put it in the fridge and get it cold, it gets nice and thick. The consistency's there. The flavor's there with the hint of bourbon, whiskey, and, the eggnog comes out too, but that is so freaking good. I feel like I should just do a 1 through 4 and then this be the guest and just give you the ranking of 1 through 10 on the eggnog. I've already done that once on Evan Ranks Beers, but now that I've tasted it again, we are going at it this way. So, we are coming to a conclusion here, which means it is time to give you my 1 through 5 ranking on these bourbons. I'm going to sort of shuffle through them here again. We tried the St. Augustine Distillery Florida Straight Bourbon first, and then we went to one of my new favorites now, the Angel's Envy Bourbon. Moved on our way over to the Elijah Craig. Then we went to our fancy schmancy Blanton's. And then finished it off with the old seasonal Evan Williams eggnog. So, I'm going to start with the eggnog just because I am actually going to exclude it from my 1 through 5 ranking and do a 1 through 4 and have this as the guest. The guest eggnog, Evan Williams eggnog ranking is going to be an official, drumroll, 10. Yeah, the first perfect 10 on Evan Ranks is Evan Williams eggnog. Shout out to Evan Williams eggnog. It did not taste like bourbon. It did not taste like any liquor. Did not taste like any beer. It tasted like a fucking milkshake. That is absolutely amazing. You could drink a whole bottle of that, get drunk, and unless you're lactose intolerant, feel fine and go to work in the morning. Might be what I do this evening. So perfect 10 on the eggnog. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty here. I'm going to go from bottom to top. The least favorite, you've guessed it, something I've already had. I gave it a 6. Be that St. Augustine Florida Straight Bourbon. It's getting a 6. I'm sorry, Eli. It was a great gift. I really enjoyed trying it. It was in the heart of my, you're a big bourbon connoisseur if you're listening to the pod. And I wanted to sort of, dabble back into bourbon. I used to be big on it, and then balling on a budget, started buying beer. But great gift. Still a good bourbon, but I'm rating it a 6. We are moving on over here to what I was very surprised about. It was my personal favorite. We've shifted over, but old Elijah Craig has gotten the number 3 ranking. I guess if you had 5, 3 is kind of right in the middle at that medium. Oh, reliable. I mean, you can't go wrong there. It's probably a little bit more expensive. I should have looked up the prices of these just to go through that. But thank you again for the donation, Mitch. I will not be returning some of these favorite bottles. But, yeah, we're giving it a 7. So it's right there at that number 3 ranking. It was good. It had some good finish to it. But I just had some better bourbons today, which leads me to my number 2 spot. Number 2 spot is going to the old chain gang here with the Angel's Envy. Yeah, he was rocking that Angel chain. He is getting my number 2 ranking. Never do it like this, horns down. But it was good. Honestly, that was a bourbon that really surprised me. It tasted somewhat sweet, somewhat bitter. It had a nice finish to it. Smelled good. I was a big fan of that bourbon, but it just doesn't compare to old horse bottle here, Blanton's. This might just be, if I ever buy bourbon, that is going to be the bottle that I spend my money on. That was just super good. I gave it a 9. Honestly, I would say it's better than the eggnog because it is year-round. The eggnog is only in December. So, limited edition, throw that out the window. I could buy this Blanton's every single week. I was a huge fan of this, and it gives you my number 1 ranking. So, to do this entirely, we'll go 1 through 4 now. I know I went through 4 through 1, but Evan Ranks Bourbon, and we are rocking with Blanton's, Angel's Envy, Elijah Craig, and then Florida Straight Bourbon, home of the St. Augustine Distillery. So that's my ranking here. Evan Ranks Bourbon. I greatly appreciate you tuning into the podcast or watching the video, or both. Some of y'all are dedicated, loyal wankers and will wank/rank this on both the video and the pod. So thank you all who tuned in. Like I said, greatly appreciate my following base. We are rocking really heavy here with the pods, and it has been a ton of fun to give you guys this content. I look forward to more suggestions. This was an audience suggestion for my podcast. I'm all in favor of these. Honestly, I'm going to shout someone out here, and he needs to give me the ranking because he's been a dedicated, thick and thin listener. Actually, two people who have listened to every single one of these podcasts, even the 1924 Winter Olympics. He made some catches on that. He might just be my new editor, but Ryan Hicks, I am calling you out, and I want to hear what you want to hear on the podcast next. That could be sports, which I did promise a sports episode this week. Little words are not coming out. Maybe it's too much bourbon, but Ryan Hicks, I want to hear what you want to hear this week. And then Tommy Carter. Both of you, I want to hear your opinions. You guys will have the next 2 podcast suggestions for me to rank. Maybe if you're feeling ballsy enough, you'll pop on here and do a guest review with me. But I want to hear your thoughts. I appreciate my listeners, and I will see you all in the next one.